Hello?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Tom, how are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks for taking some time to chat.
Appreciate you asking.
I want to introduce everybody who might be tuning on to the Music on the Menu podcast to our guest tonight. We've been doing these interviews for 2 or 3 weeks now, talking to people from the Northeast PA music scene, music community, talking to them about how they're working through COVID-19 and as a musician and people that are involved, obviously, in performing and writing and recording music. On the line with us today is Tom Flannery. He is a singer, songwriter, performer, and playwright from Lackawanna County. His albums include Song About a Train, Teen Angst and Green Flannel, Love and Streets. He did a record, Tom Flannery and the Shillelaghs, with a band. He also recorded 2 records with Brett Alexander, DuPont Back Porches, and Tales from PA6. Tom and I have known each other for a long time now. We've been playing his music on the show on Sundays for years and did some stories about him for the newspaper in the past as well. And it's a pleasure to have him on the line. So thank you, Tom, for joining us.
Thanks, Alan.
Tom, I always begin these conversations on the podcast that I've been doing since we've all been put in this unfortunate and unpleasant and difficult situation with a simple question. We'll talk about the music in a couple of minutes, but how are you doing? How are you hanging in there? How's the family? How's everybody holding up?
Good. We're luckier than a lot, in that my wife and I both can continue to work from home with our respective jobs. It's good to have our 2 girls home with us, we're doing. We've been very fortunate. So, there's a lot of people doing struggling and a lot more than we are during this. So, we've been very fortunate.
Have you enjoyed having your girls are older, I assume, so this must be unexpected quality time.
They're 18 and 22. So, and they're both, what we're mainly concerned about now is, my youngest is starting college in the fall, and my oldest is starting law school in the fall. So, the concern is that, are they going to be starting?
Yeah. Nobody seems to know. I just bumped into the mother of one of my kids' classmates, and they're in, 5th and 7th grade, and we've kind of, this year is pretty much going to be done in a few weeks with the homeschooling and the online classroom, Google Classroom. But when it comes to late August, September, who knows?
Yeah, there's just so many unknowns out there. Things seem to be changing, not even day to day. It seems like hour to hour. So, we're hopefully optimistic that they'll be able to start on time.
Well, I hope so as well. It's hard to imagine us not having any movement on this 4 or 5 months down the road, but
right.
We just have to wait and see. I wanted to talk to you about how this is affecting you as you're a very creative person. And I mentioned all the records that you've made, plays that you've written. You also write a fantastic blog, which is just social commentary, political commentary. We'll get to all of that. Let's start with music. Take us back to 6-7 weeks ago. Week of March 15th, I guess.
Yeah.
When, really things started, taking form here.
Yeah. So you talked to Wiggy the other day. Me and Wiggy had we had a gig on Saturday night.
Yeah, parade
day in Archibald, and then we had a gig. Our final show was we played at Waldo's on Sunday night, and it was just the vibe out. It was getting really weird by Sunday. You know what I mean? Like
what was that? What was it? We got a little static there. What was the club you were at on Sunday night?
We played Waldo's on Sunday night. So I think it was March 15th, it was kind of like the last. If we could call it a normal day, it's like kind of like the last normal day we had. It was like, it seemed like you know, when people count the days that they're quarantined, I think that Monday is day one, you know. So, yeah, it was weird, you know. You got the feeling playing that night, like, this might be the last time we play for a while.
You were aware of that night? You could see
yeah,
a little
bit. A little bit. You could kind of see it coming. I mean, it was just kind of like, you know, it was starting to get a little bit serious, and it was starting to become, you know, it wasn't second page news, it was front page news now, and you just kind of got the feeling that maybe this is going to be it for a while.
Did you and Wiggy with the duo, you played quite a bit, so, you know, going back a couple, you know, month and a half now, how many shows do you think you've lost to this?
Yeah, we lost quite a bit. We had you know, I mean, and then between that and, you know, and Wiggy lost a lot of band shows too, so he lost a lot more than I did, because he, you know, when he wasn't playing with me or whatever, he was playing with the band. So, yeah, so we had a decent couple of months lined up, and, you know, so they all went by the wayside, and, you know, we still have some stuff upcoming, but, you know, who knows?
Well, I think, you know, I've said this to every single person that I've interviewed when we talk about looking ahead. You know, who knows? I mean, you know, we got some festivals coming up. You know, we're now 5 weeks away, 6 weeks away from a Big Farm Blues Festival.
Right.
You know, that'll be here before you know it. And they haven't officially postponed that event yet. I think people are trying to figure out how to hang on to things, but you know, it's very difficult to postpone the show right now and say when you'll reschedule it.
And even if it's not postponed, you know, how many people are going to feel comfortable going?
Right.
You know, it's a tough thing to gauge. Yeah.
When you're, I mean, do you have, you know, you're a really bright guy and well read in news, and do you have what's your opinion on? Do you think it all is contingent on a vaccine? Is that when, you know, is that when the football stadiums are full again? Is it
my thing is, you know, from a cultural standpoint, you know, I said, you know, the way we'll know this is over is when baseball starts again. You know, when there's Major League Baseball in state, you know, and there's people there, that's when we know this is over.
Yeah.
When you're going to feel comfortable going to Yankee Stadium again? That's the question, and you know, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. You know,
a vaccine could be a year away. I mean, I can't imagine living this way for another year.
What do you look forward to? You know, I was going to say this for the end of the interview, but we're talking about, we'll just go with the flow of the conversation here. What are you looking forward to the most when that day comes? Besides the ball game, sounds like that's on your list for sure.
Yeah. It's amazing, you know, how much you miss the little things, you know what I mean? Like a guy, you know, I was talking to some guy and he's like, you know, I miss just, you know, sitting down at the bar and having a pint, you know what I mean? Like just, you know, just seeing your friends again, you know, not having to cross the street when someone's walking towards you, you know, that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
You know, it's the little things, you know. It's like, you know, some, you know, and as a society, you know, we're like, you know, we're very, you know, just shaking hands, and, you know, hugging and everything like that. It's, how's it going to be when, you know, when we don't do that anymore?
Yeah, I think this has kind of reminded us that, you know, we're pretty nice people when we see
we really
each other.
are. You know, I mean, when we see each other, you know, you got the bro hugs going, and you know, and you know, it's like you're not going to be able to do that anymore, and it's just going to be, you know, I compared it, and something that I wrote. It's, you know, like kind of like a, you know, like a dog running, you know, and reaching the end of that electronic fence, you know, and you hit that, and then you got to be pulled back, you know, because you're gonna want to just hug everybody when you see them again, because you're not going to be able to, and it's going to be a very tough adjustment to me.
I was saying to someone the other day, you know, the first time I just go out to eat, sit in a restaurant, order something I want, and they bring it to me, it's going to feel amazing.
Right.
That's going to be
and right, it's going to be so weird, right? And then, and then you're going to be like, okay, well, I have to take my mask off to eat it now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So strange days indeed.
You're also a playwright. One of your plays, The Driveway, was directed by the late great Jason Miller, Pulitzer Prize winning writer with that championship season, also an actor with The Exorcist. So, sort of an iconic person in Scranton who, you towards the end of your life became a friend with. So, I wanted to talk to you about how, as a playwright too. I mean, overall, Tom, you've had some free time working from home, with the family. Everybody, even those working from home, seems like they have a little more free time on their hands, even in the evenings, because you can't go out and do anything.
Right.
Have you used this time? Has you found that you've been able to write more, either more songs, more plays, more blogs?
Yeah, I have. Because I try to get something either like 750 words a day, or from the written word, at least 750 words a day, or a song, one or the other.
Wow.
So if I go through, if I have a day where I don't have one or the other, I feel like it's a wasted day. So I've been trying to maintain that during this. And
just put a song up last night on your Facebook page, which we shared on the Music on the Menu page. As soon as I saw it, we shared it. It said you recorded it yesterday in your post. Did you also write it yesterday?
Yeah, I wrote it a couple days earlier, and I have this. I'm not very technical at all, but I have this little 8-track machine here at the house that I never really learned how to use. But I decided, let's figure it out. We got some time now. So I needed to kind of figure it out. So I wanted to take it out for a test run. So I recorded that song on it to see, how it would sound. And
it sounded fantastic.
Yeah. So now I think, now that I kind of figured out the basics of it, I think I'm going to be recording more with it, and just to get some stuff out there.
Because for those listening to the podcast, Tom actually wrote a little blog about it about 2 weeks ago. Tom and I are friends, and he shot me a text about 2 weeks ago. He goes, "I got nothing to write about today. What do you suggest?" And I said, "Well, write about that." There's irony to the fact that I have this time right now that I've never had. I've recorded 7 albums and written a bunch of plays when I had all the responsibility in the world, raising a family and a job, and now I've got the time and nothing's coming to me. And you actually wound up writing a really cool blog about that.
I've asked to, because I really do want to get stuff done every day. So, and I'm not shy about, I'm like, I got nothing, and I'm like, well, let's go, or if I'm stuck, if I don't have any song ideas, I'll text a random friend and I'll say, give me a song title.
Oh, wow.
And, and they'll, so the song I posted last night, The Jury's Still Out. Wiggy gave me the song title. He said, The Jury's Still Out. I said, okay, there you go. So that's how it started. Just anything to kickstart the process. So,
and just for the people that are listening, we assume people know things, but we're talking about Wiggy. We're talking about Joe Wigleski, a very good friend of Tom. He's a sound engineer at Sound Investment Studios for many years. He plays with Tom as a duo, and he's also a member of the Shillelaghs, and he also plays in bands in Scranton outside of his work with Tom. And so he's a really well-known musician in the Scranton area, and Tom and I are, and Tom and Wiggy are best friends. And so he gave the title for the song that you posted last night. He suggested that title.
He suggested that title.
And then you just wrote a song. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So whatever it takes.
Forcing yourself, challenging yourself. I'm asking some people to I think I could feel a little bit more lightness on the phone with folks. doing these interviews than I did maybe 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I don't know if it's the weather or if it's the fact that we're getting used to this. Or
yeah, it's weird, right? I feel the same way. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
I think people are just fed up with it. I mean, they're just fed up with it. And I don't mean to minimize it or anything like that, but I think they're fed up with it, and they're it's kind of nervous and kind of scared, as we all were, with good reason or whatever. I think there's a little less fear and a little more anger now. And that's not a bad thing,
Yeah, and I think maybe the fear of contracting the virus is now, I think if you've been quarantined for, 5-6 weeks.
Sure. Yeah.
Social distancing, and you're wearing your mask. I don't think I'm going to get it if I run the price chopper for some milk. But now people are starting to worry about the financial side of things.
And I can, like I said, we've been very lucky. And, it's easy for me to sit back, being able to work and not have any kind of interruption in income and say, oh, stay home. You know what I mean? It's real easy for me to say, but, what about the guys who don't have that ability? So I'm not one of those guys that's out there, preaching, do this. I'm following the directions. I'm quarantine and mask, and I'm doing everything that they're telling me to do. But I'm not going to tell anybody else that their way's wrong.
I've been asking people to some of the people out to if people are starting to get a little melancholy or a little down in the dumps over this, to just share some funny stories. What would your old friend Jason Miller be thinking about right now?
Oh boy. I cannot imagine Jason. I can't imagine Jason quarantining himself. I just can't imagine it. As visible as he was on the streets of Scranton back in the day, he may be, he might be more visible. He just might be on solitary walks. You might see him all over town.
Mm-hmm.
I was just.
Can you tell us a funny story about him? Something that people might get a kick out of that happened when he was, directing your play. I think people are enjoying great stories right now. It's one thing I've learned doing these podcasts.
He was. I remember the first time, when I kind of used an intermediary to had this play, and I had to use an actor intermediary who knew Jason to ask if he would be interested in directing. And because I didn't have the guts to ask him myself. He did, and I just remember, sitting home one night, the phone rang, and I picked it up, and Thomas, it was like Father Karras was on the phone, I was just like, I was like, oh my God, this, and that's literally how it happened. I'd love to work with you on this, and I was just like, whoa, the first play, and I didn't know, stage right from stage left, and this guy was willing to direct right out of the chute. I was like, man, is this the way it always works? So it was quite an education right out of the chute.
I imagine. Did you enjoy it?
I loved it. I mean, because Jason is a writer, an actor, and a director, he knew how to handle all three.
Yeah.
So he could talk to a writer without, and suggest changes without saying, this is terrible. You know what I mean? Like he because he knew that, you kind of, and he'd say, he'd never use the word cut. He'd never say, we're going to cut this. He would use the word pruning. He'd say, prune the script. He'd never say cut. He would always use the word prune, So he was always the way he talked to you. He was always, he talked to you like when he talked to a writer, he was the writer talking to a writer. when he dealt with the actors, he was an actor talking to an actress. You know what I mean? So he could relate to everybody on their own level, and which is not too many people could do that.
We've gone 19 years next week, believe it or not. I think it was May of 2001. So, you know, it's a long time now.
One of a kind.
When you mentioned before, you know, how you are challenging yourself to write either a blog or a song every day, you know, I saw this meme once. I'm not a real big meme guy. It says writers must write what they feel, not say it. It's almost more important to a writer to write it down. And it doesn't matter if you're going to have a wide audience for that readership or if it's just going to be 10 of your friends on Facebook. Sometimes I think there's just this need to write something down internally. You know, your blog is one of the best written pieces of, I'm going to call it journalism in northeastern Pennsylvania, because it you know, if you take out your occasional F-bomb, it could be in any newspaper.
I've been trying to get better at that. Yeah.
It could easily be published as a weekly column in a newspaper, Tom. You know, and I was looking through them on your website. You've been doing it a long time. You know, you've been doing the blog for a long time. You know, in a bit. You're always in your column.
Yeah.
You know, talk to us about how that got started and what it is that drives you to do it. You know, almost every day.
Well, I mean, obviously it's in the genes, right? I mean,
your father was a very well-known columnist.
My father wrote 4,000 columns in his career. Which is so kind of and I mentioned this to you before, like kind of as a homage to the newspaper man. If my blogs, all my posts are roughly the length of a newspaper column, between 700 and 800 words. So if you look at my posts, like, and if you do like a word count, you'll never see a post that's 500 words. Right. It's always between 700 and 800. Because right. I'm just like, well, you know, this is the length of a newspaper column. This is the length that you have to, you know, this is the rule. Right. And you know, it's nobody else's rule but mine. But I feel so. But I do stick with it. It's just like you said, I've been doing it for a long time. It's just a great way for me to. If I don't do it, I feel, like I said, you know, I feel like it's a wasted day. Yeah. I don't, you know, I'd rather write 700 bad words than no words at all. Well, you know what I mean? Because, you know, I always said bad writing is just, the words are just in the wrong order. You know, you can always fix them. You know what I mean? But a blank page, there's nothing you can do with it.
Well, I definitely feel like, you know, reading your blogs, you know, over the years, you know, it's a release for you with sometimes, you know, frustrated with things going on in our country and in the news, and yeah, I just wanted to compliment you on them here on podcast, because, you know,
thank you.
Been on the radio show side of things exclusively. We'd be talking about the new record, and here we are talking about a lot more than that, but. You know, shift it back to music. You were really vocal on, and you wrote about it as well, on social media 3 weeks ago, I guess it was now, when we lost John Prine. Yeah. And two of the guests that we've had on the podcast so far, Will Beekman from the FM Kirby Center and your friend Brett Alexander, who you've done 2 records with, had shared their thoughts on John with us. So I'd like you to do the same. You know, you took his passing pretty hard, huh?
I did, you know, and it was when I first started writing songs, you know, John. The reason you kind of gravitate to John Prine songs because usually when you're starting, you play kind of rotary guitar, and you know just 3 chords or whatever. And then you realize that John Prine songs are, you know, pretty simple to play. Mm-hmm. You know, so you kind of gravitate to these 3 chords, and so you're like, well, I can play these. You know what I mean? and then you begin to think, well, these are, I could play Please Don't Bury Me, or I could play, these Sam Stone or something like that. And you begin to think, well, this is probably easy to do this, right? And then you go, no, and then you realize, no, you can't. You might be able to play his songs, but you can't write them. I mean, he's probably, as far as American songwriters, God, if you're going to put somebody ahead of him, you might have to get through me to do it. I mean, you know what I mean? I'd argue that maybe even John Prine's songs are are you put him above Dylan because he's more accessible. I don't know. I mean, but it was so.
Just the fact that he's in that conversation tells you what
he's in that conversation, and and then I wrote, who's, you ask Bob Dylan who his favorite songwriter is, and he says John Prine, and you go, well, that's good enough for me,
Yeah.
But I think, we thought we had a little hope there because there was that little sliver of hope that he was getting better.
Right.
There was that post from his wife saying that, that he was receiving treatment, and that, he was out of ICU, and so we all kind of maybe relaxed a little bit and thought he's going to be okay. And then the news came, and it just kind of was like, that almost kind of made it worse.
Yeah.
Because we all kind of had hope.
Yeah.
And when he died, this thing just, I mean, for a lot of musicians, this thing just hit home. This was like a nail on the head. It's like it just took John Prine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The virus is the reason. This is a guy who may have been around for another 10 years or so, or more. 70.
He was probably 72 or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's just it was a moment that you just kind of said, wow, this is real. This is real.
Tom, have you in this new COVID-19 era for music, you've done, like, you posted a song last night, and you've done, where he was talking about the collaboration that you did together recently. Is the Facebook Live something you've done it a bunch of times now?
Yeah, we did it in the beginning.
You like it?
Yeah, I do. I mean, we did it in the beginning. It seemed like in the beginning it was kind of like a novelty, and it seems like the novelty's kind of worn off a little bit. So, it's like less and less people are listening this deep into it. You know what I mean? So, just everybody that I know who's done them, the most listeners we ever had was the first time we did it.
Okay.
And then it's just kind of goes down a little bit and stuff like that. So I think the novelty kind of wore off because everybody started doing it. You know what I mean? So in the beginning, but it was a great way to just kind of stay in the game. Do you know what I mean? You just feel engaged.
Well, and I think the one thing that you've seen happen over the last 2 weeks particularly is it's getting a little more organized, with just, maybe like Mohegan Sun teaming up with Carl Hall or Briggs Farm. They're putting their artists that have played there over the years, sharing it on their social media, so people are kind of like, okay, and I think it's kind of showing the resourcefulness of the musicians in our community, and I don't know if it's happening as well in other areas. I watched the Nick Coyle broadcast the other night, which was done with Carl Hall and Mohegan Sun. It was really well done. Some nice graphics on the screen, and questions were coming to him between the songs, and it's like, man, they've taken this 1,000 miles in a month.
I mean, I think the guys from Nowhere Slow just did something with multiple cameras and
live from the club.
Live from the club. You know what I mean? It's just and the cool thing is that maybe, I was thinking, I don't know, but, maybe this is something that can, when this thing finally ends, like maybe this is something that you could do every once in a while. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Maybe it'll be accepted going forward as, kind of an alternate way of getting your stuff out there, Well,
I think
because I feel like it was the on the ground local musicians who kind of kickstarted it.
It was.
You know what I mean? And then everybody, and then the famous ones started saying, "Hey, look at this."
Yeah.
So
we have 21 million people watching the broadcast, together at home.
Yeah.
With McCartney and the Stones and Lady Gaga, and he's like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you're right. I think that maybe what might happen, like if we wind up getting back to the old normal someday, where Tom Flannery puts out a new CD, and maybe he has a little CD release party at his favorite pub. You press the mechanical copies, and you do that because that's tradition and that's right. Fun and that's out and that's celebratory with people. But then maybe another component of it becomes the live from home CD release party. Hey, a new record just came out. I'm going to play you a couple songs from it tonight. And, maybe if people space them out and they don't overdo it,
right,
and they make it more of an event type thing, then maybe it could be something that could really be really beneficial for artists down the road.
I mean, I've watched quite a few like of my local friends and stuff, and I love them. I think it's great. So I hope it's something that catches on. I really do.
Yeah, me too. If any of the musicians out there listening to the podcast, keep them coming. As long as we're all cooped up here, keep them coming. And then after we're back out there, hopefully, do them. Keep doing them once in a while. They're no harm done. It's a great way to hear some tunes when you're scrolling down your phone and you see what buddy of yours or if you artist that you enjoy, playing a couple songs. Tom, what do you think you're going to be? What's next for you? The last record. You've done so many records now. 2 with Rhett. The last record was the Shillelagh's record.
Right.
What are you working on next in the studio once you could get back down to recording, or on the 8-track that you've recently just learned how to work?
Yeah. I mean, I got a lot of stuff. I mean, I'd love to, I'd love to get back in the studio with the band again. Work on some more Shillelagh songs. I talked, me and Brett have been talking, about, it's like, we joke every 2 years, we'll do something.
Yeah.
And, I'd like to do something again with Brett, and talk to my friend, Lauren Clark about, doing something with him. And, so I got a lot of ideas. I got a lot of songs, and once they open the door and let us out, I think, it's just turn right or do I turn left? Because I'm going out and I'm going to do something. Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing some time with us today. I really enjoyed it. We'll have to have one of those pints you were talking about together when this is all over.
I'll buy it for you.
You buy the first one, I'll buy the second one, all right?
Yeah, there won't be
just
one.
Two.
No, I think we're going to need 2, yeah.
All right. Tom, thanks so much for taking some time this morning. We covered a lot of stuff here. We talked about, your initial reaction to the whole thing going down back in March and, how it's affected your blogs and your songwriting and your performances. Talk a little bit about John Prine, which I figured we would, and the live stream. So, I appreciate you giving, my purpose in doing these is to talk to different people from different parts of our music scene and get their perspective on it all. And I really appreciate you giving us yours.
Thanks, Alan. I appreciate it. Stay safe.
All right, buddy. We'll be in touch.
Okay. All right.
All right.